In this lesson, Creating Borders, we're in Workbook, Lesson 04, Format Data, and we're in Worksheet, Borders. In this lesson, we'll be exploring borders, but it's important to understand the difference between borders and grid lines. In every worksheet, by default, we have grid lines. These grid lines help us to stay lined up in our rows and our columns, and it helps us select an individual cell. Let me demonstrate the difference by creating a simple border. Borders are right here in our font group, and sometimes it gets ignored completely because it's hard to know that it's there. But all you have to do is make a selection. Let me select, for instance, Sam here, and select this entire row. I'm going to now click this down arrow for borders, and I see that I have lots of selections pre-selected for me of different types of borders I might want to make. For instance, I might create a top border, which would be just the very top and not the bottom or the sides. Or I might do a thick outside border. Let's do that one. If I click away here, we can see that I have a thick border. Now I want to show you that that's different than grid lines. So if I come over here to Page Layout, and over in my Sheet Options group, I can actually turn off grid lines for my normal view, that's in my sheets, and also turn it off for printing. I'm going to turn both of these off. So now in my normal view, I no longer have grid lines, but I do have a border. You can see here that this is the cell that I currently have selected. It's not a border, it's just simply my selection. Let's go to Control P on our keyboard to also see our print preview. Here's our print preview. It's for a printer that only handles black and white, so I'm only seeing black and white here. But you can see that there are no grid lines, but there is my border. I'm going to hit this back arrow to come out of here. So you can see what the difference is. Well, how do you get rid of a border? Well, you can select the whole area where the border is. You can go back to your home and the font group. You can see your borders icon. Do the drop down and you can choose no border. That's one way to do it. Let's also turn our grid lines back on because that is the normal view that we're typically in. So Page Layout, come over to my Sheet Options, and I'm going to just click each one of these under my grid lines for our normal view as well as our printing. Well, what are some more things that we can do with borders? There's really quite a few things. If I make a large selection like this, and if I come over back to Home and over back to Borders, not only do I have all of these selections like all borders, so that would fill in everything, not just the outline like we did before, but you can see everything is filled in. Every possible line is filled. I'm going to select that same area again and do a different selection this time. And I'm going to come all the way down here and make some changes. So I'm going to come down here to something that's called More Borders. When we select More Borders, we get this dialog box, which might be quite familiar to you. And typically we might be in font or maybe in number, but over here we're in the Border tab. And now I have complete control. I could say no border, just an outline, or everything on the inside. And here's my preview. And this is already what I currently have. I can say none. If I said OK, everything here would be gone. Everything over here would be gone. But I also have complete control here, like I just want a top border, or I just want a top border and a center, or I want the bottom as well. You can see all the different things I can do here. I'm going to go back here to none, and I could even do a strike through. So strike through, if you ever see that, you'll know how they created that. I'm going to come back here to outside and inside, so I have everything selected. I'm going to turn off the strike through, and here I can even change the pattern. So I have different dot patterns that I can apply. So I apply a dot pattern there. Let's say OK and see what I have. And you can see that's really quite a different look, isn't it? And if I go to Control P, I can see what that looks like in the print mode. Sometimes it's just kind of nice to look at that and see. Go back again. Okay, well, maybe I want to get rid of all of this. Well, the easiest way to do is just select the whole area and do a drop down and select no border. Now the entire border is gone. There's a few other very handy tools here. Let's take a look at them. So we use our border drop down again, and we can come over here to draw border and draw border grid. Well, draw border and draw border grid is going to draw the kind of line color and line style and line thickness that you have chosen previously. So sometimes it might be handy to come over here to your line color and choose the color you want. Let's say I want red, and then I come back here and I might choose line style and say I want this double line. And when I make these kind of choices, I get a pencil which lets me draw borders. So wherever I draw, I get borders. When I make one of these selections about color or style, or even if I just chose draw border, it would be whichever ones were currently selected. So let's try that. Let's come over here, and I have my pencil, and if I start to draw, it's going to draw a border, the color I chose, and the last line style I chose. So there's my border. And you can do a border inside of a border. You could draw another one like that. Well, we already kind of learned how to get rid of it by making a selection over everything and then simply doing our drop down and choose no border. But I want to also show you this erase border tool. So we're going to select that, and we actually get an eraser icon. This will let us cell by cell erase the border. This can be very useful if you're creating some sort of a form and it's really kind of unique the way it's been created. You might need to turn off and on some of the borders to get just the look you want. So for instance, I can click, 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 and these have all been turned off. I can also click and drag across to get rid of it, but this might take some time to get rid of it all, but you can see if you prefer doing that. And then just let go, and you'll see that it's all been erased. So to get back again, I might come over here and say no border, and now I have a regular cursor again. So that's the border tool. Play around with that. I think you'll find it's very useful, especially when you want to highlight data, or in this case, if you go to page layout and you've actually turned off your grid lines, you can create some very interesting looks for your tables and your ranges of data by creating borders just where you want them.